Hi, good morning, guys. Welcome to my table of three. Today is very exciting. I know I've been away for a while, but I'm looking forward to sharing with you today in this collaboration that I'm doing with Katie at Ironheart Mama and some more amazing YouTube ladies. So check out the links below to Katie's page as well as the playlist for the videos and the rest of this My Quarantine Kitchen collaboration. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how to stretch protein, because in this day and time that we're in, may be hard to find right now. So let's jump into the kitchen a few minutes later. Obviously not right now, I'm outside grabbing some sun before work, but we'll jump in the kitchen just after I get done with work, and I'll show you how I stretch two of the proteins that we use often in our home. Okay guys, so we are in the kitchen. Today I'm going to share with you, like I mentioned, how to stretch protein, because in this awkward or odd time or unusual time that we are all experiencing here in the US and around the world, sometimes it's hard to find that protein in your stores, or maybe your family has experienced some layoffs, some hour cuts, some pay issues that have come up due to the virus and everything that's going on. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about it. I do work from home full-time for Hilton recently. So in the last couple of weeks, a lot of our company were furloughed. I was fortunate enough to stay and work. However, my hours were cut from 40 a week back to part-time. So thankfully, if you've watched our channel before, we are a family that budgets and saves and cuts where we can to prepare for things like this. So we're able to survive during this time, but I know it's still time to pinch pennies, right? So I have got my meal plan down to where I know how much it takes to feed the three of us. There's my husband, myself, and our 11-year-old son, Nathaniel. So what I have done is the last... we've been quarantined, or not quarantined really, but in self-isolation. We did it ourselves. This is going into the third week for us, so we're all a little bit stir-crazy, even though we work and school from home. But today, we're going to focus on what has happened to me recently. And here on my table of three and at our home, I shop only twice a month, sometimes once a month if I can get away with it. So even though we're a small family, I tend to buy in bulk, well, for a family of three, and I make meals for the whole month, or at least 2 to 3 weeks. So right now, when times are limited where you can't find that much protein, or the stores are having to limit the amounts that you can get, I'm only allowed to get like 1 package of chicken, which I'm blessed to find that, because I've heard that some people can't even find chicken in their area, so that's just horrible. But I'm able to find that in my area, and we can get 1 package of chicken breast, 1 package of chicken thighs, 1 beef, things like that. I'm sure you've all seen those limits. Well, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I took that 1 package of chicken breast that I bought at Aldi's on that limit, and I've stretched it to mini meals. So today I'm going to show you a couple of options how to stretch 1 pound of chicken breast and 1 pound of ground beef. A little bit later I'll talk about the beef, but today first I'm going to show you a recipe to where I can take about 1 to 2 to 3 chicken breasts and stretch that for at least 2 meals or maybe more. So first thing I'm going to start with is I'm just going to show you a brief picture of what I fixed for today's lunch, and then I'm going to jump into a recipe that we call chicken fajita rice. That is something, it is a Trim Healthy Mama E. It's lower fat. You can stretch it a couple of different ways, and we'll talk about that as I show you the recipe in the Instant Pot. So let's hop over and I'll start showing you how I take that 1 pound of chicken and I make that chicken fajita rice. And these are larger chicken breasts, so if you don't have 1 pound of chicken, just use what you have. I have the chicken boiling right now, and I'm going to shred that and add that to the rice just in just a moment. You can chop it and saute it, or you could, even if you were looking to save time, you could chop it up and cook it with your rice as it's cooking. But I'll tell you a little bit more about how I make that in just a moment. So let's jump over to the Instant Pot. Alright, so first for the chicken fajita rice, I have already cooked my brown rice in my Instant Pot. Now the way I did this is 2.5 cups of brown rice, and I use about 4 cups of water, and I cook it for about 22 minutes. Then I do a instant pressure release, and then I take the lid off and have it. That way, I just like the way it gets. You can see it's not mushy, it's still single grain, so it's not like clumped together, and that's just the way I like it. You can completely cook your rice the way you like it for your family, and so that's, like I said, 2.5 cups of brown rice. And then I just had some vegetables in the refrigerator that I'm using. I have a couple of stalks of celery I needed to used. There's a half an onion, and here's 1 red bell pepper that I'm going to saute up to go into the rice. You can see the chicken is over here boiling. There is our stir fry. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the vegetables I use in just a few minutes, but this is just 2 bags of stir-fried vegetables and 1 bag of broccoli. I'm going to use 1.5 of those chicken breasts to put in there for today, and the other 1.5 are going to go in this fajita rice. So the vegetables I just showed you, you'll also need 1 can of diced tomatoes, some salt, and I just make my own taco season. This is just, there's garlic powder, onion powder in there, cumin, and chili powder. Now, this is a recipe that you can use what you have. If you don't have a red pepper, you can use green. If you don't have any, that's fine. I also use the frozen mix, and I can still find it in the grocery stores now. So if you can't find fresh, always check your frozen section for the frozen onion and pepper mix, or even the seasoning blend would work. So the next thing I'm going to do is saute these up until they are tender and shred up the 1.5 chicken breast or cube it, and then I'll come back and show you how I put all this fajita rice together. Alright, so before I show you how I put together my chicken fajita rice, I have the chicken breast cooled. I did shred 1.5 chicken breast for our family of 3 in this. Now, I did bulk this up with 3 bags of frozen vegetables, 2 mixed and 1 mixed cauliflower and broccoli. I hope the lighting's okay, but we will probably eat this over some of the brown rice that I have in the refrigerator, or my husband and I will probably eat it just in a bowl. And then if we're still hungry, then we have some berries and things like that in the freezer that we can make us like a protein smoothie with. So there's that. And then now I'm going to jump over here and show you how I do my chicken fajita rice with the other 1.5 chicken breasts there. Alright guys, so we are going to jump into getting this fajita rice mixed up. Remember, I cooked my rice earlier. Now if you hear my dogs barking in the background, it's probably going to be real live, because immediately I turn on the camera and they start barking. So this is my rice. I'm going to go ahead and add in those peppers, celery, and onions that I sauteed. I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. I didn't show that on camera just so it doesn't take up a lot of time on this video, but I just added that in. Now, the recipe, like I said, is down in the link. It's on my blog. I'm going to put that down below. It'll be a little bit different, but I'm just using what I have on hand in our quarantine kitchen, right? So I didn't have the frozen onion and peppers mix that I called for, so I just used the bell peppers, celery, onions that I had on hand already chopped up. So the next thing is going to be, I add in here salsa and canned tomatoes. But again, you can use whatever you have. So it can be like a 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes, or you can just use all salsa, or you can leave it out. But I'm going to go ahead and dump in the salsa. And you guys, like I said, this is so versatile. You can just use it. And I have my Instant Pot on saute as well. So this can be as dry or as wet as you guys like it. So I think I may go ahead and add in, I do have a can of diced tomatoes, so I'm going to go ahead and open that and put that in there. But again, this doesn't take a lot to taste good, so if you don't have the salsa on hand, just use tomatoes. If you want it a little bit drier, you can just use 1 can. If you have 2 cans, you can. And I don't even drain it, you guys. I just dump it right in. And then on top of that, we're going to use, you can use taco seasoning if you have taco seasoning packs. If you do not, you can see the measurements to the seasoning that I use in my recipe. But this is just a combination of garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, and cumin. I always have those on hand, but use what you have. If you have the packets, that's great. And here is the 1.5 chicken breast that I shredded for here. As you remember, I used 1.5. I cooked 3 because I divided that pack of 9 into 3 different frozen packages in my freezer. And 1.5 went in this recipe here that I just shredded. And the other half was in that stir fry that we ate for today's lunch, or we're going to eat for today. This is actually for tomorrow. And so once you get everything in there, stir it up. And then another way to stretch, guys, if you don't have chicken, like remember, if you're not able to find chicken in your area, you could use beans, right? You could use black beans, pinto beans. even like white northern beans or anything like that to get more protein. You can use canned, you can cook dry beans and add those. If you can even leave the chicken out, so you don't have any chicken, you could use 2 cans of black beans or 3 cans depending on the size of your family. But if you want to do like I did, normally I would put a can of black beans in here as well, but I don't have any black beans. And I don't have any canned pintos or any dry beans that I have cooked. So we're just going to use it like this because this is plenty for us. And another way you can stretch this is you could use, if you have tortillas, you can let your kiddos or yourself eat this on tortillas. If you did happen to have sour cream and cheese, you could use that. But this is a low-fat meal, so if you follow Trim Healthy Mama and you guys are trying to stay on plan, this would be an E. So you would use, you could have this as a meal. You could add some more black beans, like I said. But if you're trying to fill tummies and trying to make sure everybody got enough, you could add more beans and then eat this on tortillas. Or, you know, over salad, lettuce, if you just have lettuce. So this is a great meal. It's very tasty. At this point, I would taste it to see if it needed any more salt, seasoning, salsa, anything like that. And just adjust it to your liking. But this is very frugal. The rice, it was a 1-pound package of rice from Walmart that I believe was 78 cents. This can of Aldi's, I believe it is 89 cents. The salsa I used is a large jar from Aldi's. I think this is about $1.89. And I didn't even use a whole jar. This is already open, so I probably used about a cup of salsa. So, and then the chicken. It was a $9.95 pack of chicken, but again, this is only 1.5 breasts out of there. So this is very frugal. It'll stretch. It'll feed quite a few people. You can double it if you have a larger family. Add those beans if you need to. They're very frugal, and this would be a good way to stretch the items you have in your kitchen. So I am going to taste this for seasoning, and then I'll be right back and we'll finish up this video. Alright, so I thought I'll show you a couple other things that I do to stretch protein. 1 pound of beef or 1 pound of chicken like I'm showing you today. Because we are lucky enough to have some homeschool families that raise cattle. And we buy our beef in 1 pound packages from her. This is a lean beef, so this will work good in your emails. If you don't have lean beef and you're following Trim Healthy Mama or looking for low fat options, then you could cook your beef, rinse it, and then use it in these recipes I'm going to show you now. So in the beef, a lot of times we'll do for an e-meal or a lower fat meal is that we will use lentils or beans. I cook about, for our smaller family of 3, 1.5 pounds or maybe 1 pound of these lentils. So I cook them in the Instapot. Just follow your Instapot directions in your book to cook your pinto beans or your lentils, and then I usually brown the ground beef with maybe an onion or a bell pepper or something if I have it. If not, I just brown the ground beef with salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and then I put it in my Instapot with the beans and mix it up, and it's kind of like a soup or something. You know, if you have kids that would eat it over rice, you could do that, or I'm sure my son would like that, but we usually just eat it in a bowl like soup. So that's what I would do if I only had 1 pound of ground beef. Now, I know in some areas beans and lentils may be hard to find, but thankfully I have a pantry that I keep stocked with beans. I usually buy some along the way, so we have plenty. So that's what I do with 1 pound of beef. You could also do 1 pound of beef with like veggies if you have it. Like these, I found these. I'm not having any trouble finding frozen vegetables or fresh vegetables in our area. But if you are having trouble finding fresh vegetables, always check your freezer. I got these at Aldi's, fairly cheap. Walmart usually has green beans, broccoli, cauliflower for about $1 a bag. So I utilize those a lot. Another thing I do with chicken, like I'm showing you today, remember I'm only able to buy 1 pack at a time. And for our 3 people in our family, I can separate those out to about 2 chicken breasts if I'm needing to stretch it per serving, per meal, or maybe, and what I do with that for an e-meal or a low-fat meal is I will cook 1 pound of chickpeas, and I'll make my chicken and chickpea stew, which I have that recipe on my blog. Very simple. I will put that in the link below so you guys can see it, but it just uses, I think in the recipe it calls for 2 pounds of chickpeas and I think maybe 2.5 pounds of chicken, but you can definitely lower that chicken amount to stretch it. And if you only have 1 pound of beans, you can do that as well. Just kind of adjust the broth that you need in your pot. So those are very affordable. These are only like $1, a little bit over $1 a bag. Like these are 97 cents. The pinto beans are a little bit more because this is a 2-pound bag, but this is all a way to stretch your protein, but also fill the bellies of your family. So that was just a little quick share about what else you could do with limited pantry supplies. So we'll get back to our kitchen in just a moment. Alright guys, so we just finished showing you that fajita rice, and then I showed you a couple other ways you could stretch maybe a pound of ground beef and some more chicken with those beans and chickpeas in your Instant Pot. So this is just my take on how to stretch your budget and use what's in your quarantine pantry. Hopefully you guys are able to find what you need in your area. I know some areas are sparse. Luckily in our area, I've been able to find what we need and for what we need for our family, except, you know, toilet paper. If I could come up with the recipe how to make toilet paper, maybe that would be a big hit, right? But we are currently well. I hope you and your family are doing well. Stay safe during this time, and be sure to check out all the other lovely ladies like Katie from the Iron Heart Mama and all the other channels that took part in this quarantine kitchen collaboration here on YouTube. If you haven't already followed me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, please find me at mytableof3.com, and I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.